I'm having a really late lunch right now. It's like 3:30, and I felt like being out in nature, so I don't know really where I'm at exactly, but I love the freaking desert. It's so awesome. So I'm gonna go on a walk, and then you and I are gonna talk. Hey everyone, so today we're gonna talk about something that means a lot to me, and I'm gonna be sharing something with you that has really changed my life. I'm up here in the middle of nowhere, kinda, and there's a house behind me, but I really felt like being in nature today. I stopped and got some lunch. Hopefully I'm not gonna have to pee soon because there's nowhere to go. Just to let you know, I already filmed this once before, and I just was not happy with how it went. I feel like I didn't say it from the heart. It was more so I was nervous. This video is about how I went from not believing in anything to believing in the New Age religion to giving my life to Jesus Christ. So, how did I get to where I am right now? I think a lot of you that have watched me, you know that I've never been interested in Christianity, honestly, any religion. I expressed my hatred for the church that I went to in a video I made a long time ago. It was like back in 2016. That has been deleted since. In 2020, that is when I found New Age religion. And if you don't know what that means, New Age religion is pretty much where you put all of your faith into objects like tarot cards, crystals, astrology, psychics, all of that sort. New Age religion was such an influence to me. I can't explain how it made me feel in the beginning. It was my coming to faith, and being able to find something after not having anything in the beginning was very sacred to me. This was a very difficult thing for me to let go. So within the last 3 months is when I decided to give my life to Jesus. So this is fairly new. I've been studying the Bible for the first time ever. I've never really read the Bible for myself. I really wanted to learn the Word of God and what it says. I have always felt like God did not have my best interest in anything, or anybody for that matter. I just felt like it was something for people to lean on that needed hope and faith, just something to believe in. I really mocked God, Christianity, all of it. So let me tell you the story on how I got here. It is long, and I wanted to go ahead and say that it does have parts where I talk about SA. Growing up, I didn't really have a specific church that I would go to. My family kind of started going to different types of churches. I went to a Pentecostal church. That's where they speak tongues. I also went to a Old Baptist, and the one that we would go to was called Church of Christ, which I think that is like Old Baptist as well. Same thing, same belief. It just really wasn't implemented into my life as a kid. I mean, if anything, my mom talked about Jesus, the story of how he was nailed to the cross and died for our sins. I knew the story of Adam and Eve. Further than that, I did not know anything else. The basics I knew. And it seemed like when I would have questions about it, my parents really couldn't answer them, or if they did get answered, it wasn't in a way that made sense to me. The older I got, the more I drifted away from God. I was really self-absorbed in my own life. I think at 15 is when I started getting boyfriends, and I really leaned on male figures because I did not have a close relationship with my dad. So I was always in relationships. Those were the things that made me feel good. They made me feel special because I knew that, you know, I'm in a relationship with this guy and he likes me. And that's something that I didn't feel in my home. My home environment was not safe. It didn't feel safe to me as a kid. A lot of hurtful words were always tossed around like it was nothing. And there were absolutely no boundaries either. I feel like my sister and I grew up in survival mode all the time. We didn't know what our parents' reactions were going to be. We didn't know what their actions were going to be. And that happened every single day in my life, in our life, for 19 years that I lived there. And I just thought, as a kid, if this wonderful God exists, then why do I feel fear all the time? Why do I feel scared? Why is my anxiety the way that it is? We found a church that we started going to frequently. And I remember in the mornings we would go to Bible study, and there was a teen Bible study. I felt so insecure around the other kids. When we would pick up the Bible and they would tell us what verse to turn it to, I had no idea how to find the verse, and I was so embarrassed of that, and I just automatically felt like I didn't belong there. And I'm sure the people there just thought that I also didn't want to be there, but it wasn't that. I just held so much sadness as a kid, so when I was put in situations where they felt kind of estranged to me, I just didn't want to be involved or around it. And then when we would get out of church, my parents would just always argue. I mean, it was violent arguing with their words, and it never failed. My sister and I would have to listen to it until we got home, until they were done arguing. And it's just like, we're going to church and we're listening to the words that the preacher is saying, and then when we get in our own environments, like nothing like that is practiced. It gets so bad when we go home. And that's another reason I felt like this is just so fake. And why would I want anything to do with this? So when I hit 18 years old, the goal for me was to move out ASAP. That was almost impossible for me to do, because when I was 15 years old, I asked for a job. I was told, no, you can't have one. You're not going to go out and run around like you know that you can do everything. It was very weird, but that was one of the things that I was told. So not being able to have a job, make my own money. My parents bought my car. They paid for my phone. Those are the things that they owned, and they knew that I couldn't live without them as a teenager. I didn't really know at that point, like, how can I get around without a car in this small ass town? I felt trapped. But in my mind, I thought, okay, when I turn 18, I'm going to be able to go to college and get away from them. And they really pushed college on me. If you don't go to college, you're not going to be able to do anything with your life. And living in that small town, yes, that is true, because there's really no work there. If you don't have a college degree, I feel like it's very difficult for you to be able to do anything. I knew that that was going to happen. I knew that they were going to pay for it since they were pushing it. So I just kind of thought, all right, I'm going to go away to college. But news to me, I wasn't going away to college. No. I need to stop acting so grown. I'm going to go to community college that's 30 minutes away and take night classes. That's when, like, my heart, it was hurting. I was watching all of the kids in my class. They were going away to college. They were making friends, starting their lives. I was bubbling with anger on the inside. Didn't really think about God, didn't really think about religion. And I didn't have any room for God in my life at that time. It was more so, you're in survival mode. There's really nothing to pray to because nothing's happening for you. Everything just keeps going wrong. It was just about me and getting out. So I got married at the age of 19 or 20, closer to 20, and once I got married, that's where I got my first taste of freedom. For the first time, nobody was like breathing down my neck. But in the marriage, we did not grow together. That's actually when my social media career started taking off. Long story short, I mean, the marriage lasted less than a year, and I was given the choice between him or my career. And I mean, I was just at my end, so I chose the career. I felt like everything I ever wanted had been taken from me. Every decision that I wanted to make had been made for me. So I just took the leap of faith and said, I really like doing this. I'm choosing this. Of course, it wasn't that simple in the beginning. It took a while for me to make that choice. Oh, and it was not good when I made that decision. I was actually told how ashamed my family was of me and how much of a mistake I was making by doing this, by getting a divorce. And I think it was one of these small town things where everybody's going to hear about it, and my family was probably embarrassed at that fact. So when I made that decision to continue with my social media career, that I just want to say, I didn't know that it was going to be a career. I just wanted to keep making videos. I was making a little bit of money from it, not enough to survive, but I loved it so much, and I found so much individuality in myself from doing it that I just did not want to stop. So when I got to the point in my career where I was actually making a lot of money, I was visiting LA very frequently. I was booking Airbnbs, meeting new people while doing it. It was such a thrilling time for me because I had never been out of my small town before. Yeah, we went on vacations to Myrtle Beach and Orlando, Florida, but that's as far as I had gotten. I had never been able to talk to people about their own views of the world and just get out and hear their own experiences with it. So when I finally did, it just made me, I was in awe at it all, and I wanted to hear more, and I wanted to learn more from others and how they perceived the world. The more that I would talk to people and share my own personal experience and where I came from, they would tell me, your family is just so sheltered and they don't have a clue in the world, and God's not going to save you. You are the only person that can save you. I was really influenced by a lot of what people had to say, but it made me feel so empowered because, I mean, hey, I was looking at my reality. I had gotten out, and I'm like, wow, you are in the real world. This is life. So I went a while without believing in anything. When my YouTube career got really serious, I had no room for God. I had no room for religion or to even think about it. There was some underlying anger because my whole life I felt like it never saved me, and now that I'm finally out, why would I rely on that? I just went so long without feeling like God was there for me. The thoughts that I would have against God, I felt like there's no way God gave me this new life that is happening for me, especially if I'm talking about him the way that I have been. Why would he bless me in that way? That just proves that there's no God. So being out on my own, I got really crazy and I started drinking a lot of alcohol. I would book an Airbnb in LA for like a month at a time with friends that I would make, and we would stay there and we would go crazy. We would day drink into the night, go to all these parties, and every time that I would drink, I would get so belligerently drunk. I was so incoherent of what was going on around me and black out and have to ask what happened the next day and be so ashamed of my actions. There was a time that I went on a 2-week binge of drinking because there was like some YouTube events happening, and I was traveling a lot, so I would go from YouTube event to like a meet and greet that was held that I was a part of, and I would just be so drunk. I would be meeting fans and I would be so drunk while doing it. It got to the point where I was doing it so much and I realized how bad it was for my health, and I just felt so lonely. I felt like I wanted a partner so bad. I wanted a stable relationship because I had no one in my life. I didn't talk to my family during this period. I don't really know how they felt about me, but I just know that I didn't really want them in my life. I felt like they had ruined my life enough that it was time for me to do my own thing, but meanwhile I'm wrecking it in the process. I noticed this pattern when I would drink. I would run away from all of my friends. So dangerous as a woman. But I would run away and they would have to find me. And I look back at it and I'm like, that symbolically means that I was just running away from all my problems. And I feel like that's how it started for me. Like, I ran away from my family. I would get so drunk to run away from my feelings. It was a really difficult time. I did not care about anyone except myself. I hurt so many people in that process because I felt like I was allowed to, that I gave myself permission to hurt people because I was hurt. And I only cared about me being happy in the end. So in 2017, I was essayed in Los Angeles. And I was also seeing a guy during that time, and he lived in a different state, so we would talk long distance. And the night that it happened, I called him, and I was crying my eyes out, telling him what just happened, and he told me to book a flight right now, come stay with me at my mom's house, and I will help you get through this. I didn't even think twice about it. I booked the flight, jumped on a plane that evening, and I went to go see him. I had no idea who this guy was when I was talking to him. I talked to him for maybe 2 weeks, and we would FaceTime, text every now and again, but I mean, I still really didn't know him. He picked me up from the airport, and I just remember feeling that it was so weird. Like, he was so weird. He wasn't the same person that I was talking to on the phone. And I kind of just thought, okay, he's nervous, he's awkward, it's okay, it'll be fine. So we arrive at his house, all the lights are off, everybody's asleep, his mom, his sister, it's just a really weird event that's happening. And I try to get settled in as much as I could while being quiet. And I realized that I was going to get in bed with a guy that I didn't know. And I think that's when I started getting a little uncomfortable with it. That's when the realization hit for me that this probably wasn't a good move. And then while being in bed with him, he essayed me, knowing what happened to me less than 24 hours before seeing him. After that happened, it was weird. It was weird. It was, I felt so violated. But he acted as if he was so in love with me after it happened. It's like Cupid just shot him in the heart. I didn't know how to feel. That made me even more confused about what I was doing and what this person was to me. It felt like violation, but also he was giving me all of this love after the fact. So I had no choice but to believe that he loved me. And I felt kind of guilty for asking the question of, was that wrong? Like, or just feeling some sort of shame about it. I excused what happened, and I stayed with him for another 2 weeks. When I was leaving, I was actually going to another YouTube event. It was Playlist Live, and this was going to be a big playlist for me because I had a scheduled meet and greet with David Dobrik and his whole crew. And I knew that if I got that meet and greet, if I was there at that meet and greet, my whole career was about to change. I didn't want to leave that guy. I didn't want to leave him because I felt like he was the person that gave me attention, that made me feel safe. What if I got out there at Playlist and like something bad happened to me again? I just felt like everything was out of my control, and I had to do what I could to save the relationship. So I said no to the meet and greet, and I just didn't show up at Playlist Live. I remember my friends texting me and telling me how stupid I was and that it was not worth it and I should not be doing this right now. But that just made me drift further away from my friends because I felt like they didn't get it. In less than a month of dating this guy, he proposed to me, and he was joking about it too. He was joking about asking me, like, would you say yes? And I felt uncomfortable. I didn't know if I wanted to say yes, but I also didn't want to say no. So I was just caught in this limbo. And then I said, you know what? Who cares? Like, this is love. This is true love. I'm going to marry this guy. He has done so much for me already. I don't even want to leave him. Like, this is what love is. Anybody can tell me whatever they want. I'm not going to believe them. While I was staying with this guy, I actually had already planned to move to LA with this girl that I was friends with and made the deposit and all. Even before meeting him, I already knew that it was going to happen and made the deposit. And I didn't know how we were going to navigate our relationship. I was kind of just going with the flow of it. We were talking about him moving in eventually, but he also had a child to care for. So it really wasn't something that should have happened, and I should have thought about the child anyways, but I didn't. Eventually, once I got stable out in LA, I believe I was out there for like a month by myself before we packed up all of his stuff and moved it out to LA. And when we were living together, that is where I discovered this guy has a porn addiction. I saw when we were first dating that he had like saved tabs on his phone of porn, and I didn't know if it should bother me. It didn't bother me at first. I thought that, okay, well, it's just because he was single. He's probably not doing that now. When we were living together, it was clear, very, very clear, that he was constantly looking at porn, and he was looking at girls that did not look like me at all. which made me very insecure. It made me feel not good enough. The relationship started getting very, very toxic and very violent. We were very toxic with one another. One thing that I worried about all the time was my finances, because I was supporting him and I both out in Los Angeles. So he came up with the idea to move out to Albuquerque, New Mexico. He said it was cheap, he knew people here, and that we would have a great life. So I'm still living in this deranged fairy tale of, okay, there's still hope. Maybe he'll love me again. I didn't feel the same love that he once gave me. It really felt like he just did not like me anymore. And I think that's why I chased him, because I just felt like the person that was there for me during a really, really hard time of my life, a very weak time of my life, he was just gone. So we moved from LA to Albuquerque. It didn't take long for us to progressively get worse in our relationship. The night that was absolutely terrible, and I feared for my own life, was the night that we got into an argument. It caused him to leave, and he didn't have a car, so he was just walking down the street in the pouring rain, and his mom was really worried about him, so she texted me and asked me, can you please go get my son? And what am I going to say? No. So I go and pick him up. I'm not in good spirits, and I just say something to trigger a nerve, and he takes my head and he bashes it into the window. Again, it's pouring the rain out. We're close to home, so I'm just doing everything I can not to black out in this moment. I start hyperventilating. He rears back like he's going to do it again. I keep my mouth shut. We finally get to the apartment. I walk upstairs. He has a temper tantrum, starts breaking everything inside, every decor item that I have, every single piece of whatever he can get his hands on. He starts breaking it. I'm hiding in the corner, scared to death. We don't work it out. Like, our arguing and bickering, it does not stop. It just gets worse. He gets violent by backhanding me on my nose, and I fall to the ground. When that happened, of course, I thought, okay, here is the moment to leave. Here is the chance that you have waited for. You have a reason finally. Just say, get out and move on with your life. But then I had like this other voice in my head saying, you can't do it. You really can't. You can't be off on your own. You're not ready yet. You need him. You need somebody to be there for you. Once he's gone, you have nobody. You're out here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. You don't have anyone here, and you don't have a purpose here either. Do you really think that you can leave him? That voice overpowered the other voice of me wanting him to leave. It wasn't even in the cards for him to leave. I brought up, let's go to church. Let's find something. We need something. We don't have anything. We have no faith. Maybe we need to be in a community that can help us. So we went to church, and it didn't do anything. It didn't last. We didn't go again after that. I was lost, and I was hurting. I didn't talk to my family at the time, and I didn't want to tell them about what was going on because I was so ashamed of staying and allowing this to happen. So in order for me not to feel it, I would put myself to sleep by taking pills, and I took them for like a week straight to just, I didn't want to be here anymore. And I thought, like, if I die, I die. It's okay, I'm not happy anyways. So when him and I officially broke up, that's when I kind of started looking for something to believe in. I got into another relationship, and this guy, he had his own beliefs. I think he was Catholic. He grew up Catholic, but he still struggled with his relationship with God, and I saw that, and it made me not want it even more, but I wanted faith. And this was during the pandemic, so when life got weird, I really felt like there was something out there, like there's something that we don't know. So I started like digging into all the deep state, the white rabbit, the Pizzagate, all of that stuff, and it just opened my eyes to this world is a evil, scary place. I need to know the meaning of life. I started meditating, really trying to silence my mind, and I realized that I needed help. I knew that I needed help from everything in my past. So I started doing like past life regression stuff, really trying to work on my inner child. And that's where crystals were brought into the equation. I found crystal healing and would do deep dives into different types of crystals and how they could help me, like what's good for anxiety, what's for like helping me with my confidence, and just really putting my faith into these objects. I definitely believe whatever you put your faith into, you're going to get in return. And then I found tarot cards. That's what I would use to help me with my future. And I would start praying to like the archangel Michael and like whatever spirits were in my room, like you are welcomed here, and I just want to know if I'm going to be an actress in a few years. Is my career going anywhere? Is this relationship going anywhere? Just asking all of these questions because I was so afraid of not having control of my life. I think this is where it got kind of weird for me. I started looking into like star seeds and what a star seed is. Like, I didn't feel like I was from this planet anymore. I felt like I did not belong here. So I would try to talk to my intergalactic family while being super high doing it. Getting high was, this is like when the pandemic hit, I had nothing else to do. Like, I was getting high so often. We both were taking dabs every single morning, and then when it would wear off, again in the evening, and then again at night. I was so disconnected from everything around me, and that's how I wanted it to be. I didn't feel like the world was real anymore. I just did not want to be a part of it, and I really feel like that's where me looking for this intergalactic family sort of thing came from. No breaks with smoking, absolutely none. I think I smoked straight 3 years. So when 2022 hit, that is when a lot changed for me. Again, it's like another chapter of my life was coming, but it was so uncomfortable. This is kind of where like I let go of that intergalactic starseed stuff. There was really no connection with that for that long, but this is where I found the power from within, and I really started to believe in myself to be God, to be my own God, and that we are all one. I started manifesting. I started using my crystals as a way to manifest. I was doing full moon rituals. I felt like I saw things happen for me that I was asking for, and it just seemed like there was no other way. Like, I am the one. I am God. We are all God. We are all the creators of this universe. I felt powerful. I felt in control. Like, life had a meaning again. I felt like my light was shining once again, and I was so comfortable. I was very comfortable in this belief. All the people were great that believed in it. It's like they minded their own business, and like if you told them something that you knew and they didn't, they would be so welcoming and inviting, and it was completely opposite from what I experienced in the Christian belief. I got into a new relationship, I lost a friendship, and I lost my 2 front teeth as well, and that put me into overdrive depression. I had this freak accident where I lost my 2 front teeth, and it just didn't feel real to me that happened. It just forced me to pause my life. That's when I stopped doing YouTube. I started getting these terrible feelings just coming out of me, and I had no control over them. So I'm back in this place where I have absolutely no control. I'm insecure. I'm angry, and I'm in this new relationship, and I want it to go somewhere. I feel like it could be a beautiful relationship, but I'm ruining it. I was at an all-time high with my depression, and I was abusing smoking weed. When I felt sad, I would go to it because I thought if I smoke this, it'll make me happy. But it didn't. It never made me happy when I would do it. I just felt even more disconnected from myself and the world. It got so bad that I just would lay in bed and could not find a reason to get out of it. I was praying to die. Meanwhile, Jesse, at that time, he was my light. I didn't know what to do. I really didn't. He was patient with me. He would listen to me, and he would do everything that he could to help me. And in these moments, this is where he said, listen, I can help you as much as I possibly can, but at the end of the day, I feel like you do need to talk to someone. So he said that seeing a therapist would be good for me, and I was very prideful. I didn't want to talk to a therapist. I had went so long without doing it. Like, I don't want to open up that can of worms, you know? I was so depressed. I really didn't have a choice. So he helped me look for a therapist. I found one rather quickly, and I'm very blessed because the person that I have as my therapist, she is a wonderful therapist and has helped me in so many ways. The first few months of me seeing her, they were absolutely hell, though, because we had a lot to get through. I had a lot of anger. I had a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression. So we talked about putting me on antidepressants. So it wasn't hard for me to decide if I wanted to do or be on antidepressants, because I just felt like I really need to give up control. Like, I've done all that I could do in my life right now. I need to let others help me, and I need to feel okay with that. Within the 6 months of seeing a therapist, that's when I noticed like a change in my life and a change in who I was and how I was handling situations. And I was actually proud of myself. My light was coming back. I got my 2 front teeth replaced with new implants. I could eat again. I could smile again. When I got to a place where I was healthy, that's where I wanted to find myself spiritually even more. I wanted to dig a little bit deeper, but I felt like within the New Age religion, there always lied a question that was never answered for me, and it's what happens after all of this? What happens after all of this is over? I would lie awake at night wondering, what happens when I die? Where do I go? It started to become a little bit of a fear, and another thing that would make me disconnect. When I would try looking for answers, New Age religion just, it limited me. Like, there were no answers to what happens when you die. Like, where do you go? There's no solid answer that made me feel comfortable. I'm going to die at the end of all of this at some point, and I have to face that. And I would say at this time that I believed in God, and I was kind of drifting away from the thought that I was God, because I thought, you know what, baby girl, you can't even put toast in the toaster without burning it. Like, you are not God. So I was drifting away from that thought and kind of coming to terms that there is a God, but I don't know him. I have to have answers. I have to have factual answers, because I've never resonated with Christianity. I've never resonated with the thought of God. Like, what do I need to do? So the feelings of wanting to know God kind of started when I was asking those questions really frequently. Me and Jesse would talk about it. We would talk about it a lot, and he has such a beautiful way of putting things. He has never pushed anything on me. He is also a Christian. It's just, he speaks in such a beautiful way. I really think that he should be a public speaker. It made me question more things. Everything that you're questioning, maybe you should read the Bible. If you want to know God that bad, the God that everybody talks about, this book that has been around for thousands of years, read the Bible. Just do it. It's the only thing that you have not done. And again, I'm at this place where I'm okay with letting go of control and doing the one thing that I've never done before, and setting aside my pride. I feel like that was very important. To set aside how I felt about something that made me angry, that made me feel like an outcast, that other people's perceptions of what God and Christianity is, like taking that all away and not overcrowding my mind with a bunch of noise, and finally just listening to my soul and what it's saying. It's saying, like, read the Bible. Get your answers there, hun. When I started reading the Bible, it was very confusing. I have trouble comprehending when I read, so it's definitely not easy when you're reading the Bible. And I also didn't know where to start. I feel like that was the hardest part. So me and my fiance, we were in this together during that time. He was reading it at night to me, and I was trying to make sense of it, but it's really hard when I don't have like a picture in my head of all of these people that they're talking about. It can get kind of overwhelming. I'm so happy that I found this TV series. It's called The Chosen. It shook me to my core in the best way. It tells the story so beautifully. The story of the disciples, their walk with Jesus. It makes you feel like they're real people. And sometimes when you think about history and back in the day, it's like they don't have the same human behavior as us. We don't think of them as us, but they were. They just lived in a different period. But it doesn't take away the fact that we all experience human emotion the same. Happy, sad, angry, all of it. And that's kind of like what connected me to reading the Bible. And once I felt that, like, I started actually feeling the Holy Spirit, and I didn't know what that meant when people would say that, like, you felt the Holy Spirit, like, how? Like, I have felt him so many times. It happens a lot when I'm listening to Christian-based music, and the words just compel me. They really make me feel what God has done for me. He truly does love me, and that is where the problem started with me. I never felt like I was good enough for God. I felt like an outcast. When you learn the story and you hear what Jesus Christ went through for us, knowing that we don't know no better, that we are sinful beings, and God knows that, but he still loves us. So that washed away my shame and made me feel like if he knows and he still loves me, then why wouldn't I want to follow him? Why wouldn't I want to follow the good of all good? And I think that's what a lot of us want, is we want to be good. We want to follow what is good and what feels good. And when we feel pain, or we feel like we are being judged in some sort of way, we don't want anything to do with it. God is not an evil God. He is not a hurtful God. He wants you. He wants you. And I felt like he wanted me. And I just kind of... oh my God, I'm starting to cry. I just put my hands up and I said, okay, God, you take care of this. I'm going to let you take care of this for me, because I've tried for so long and I'm so tired. But I'm so tired of being lost. And I'm so grateful, because I was someone that was so far gone, so far away from God. And now that I feel like I'm walking beside of him, it's unbelievable to me. A lot of you know that I've been through it, and you've seen a lot of it. I'm really glad that I've been able to share this part of myself, because I feel like my story has impacted a lot of people. And I know a lot of people are not going to agree with me, or I'm going in the wrong direction with this. That's not at all how I feel. I'm just so happy that I found you, God. I'm so happy that I let go of my pride, that I let go of control, and I stopped fearing what other people thought. I stopped people pleasing. And I just want to say, God, I am so grateful that I have been brought to this moment, that I've been brought to a place where I feel comfortable enough sharing your word and your love, the love that you have for me. And that I hope that I can be a testimony for people that feel lost, or they feel confused, or they feel like they don't know how to develop a relationship with you. I truly pray that these people find their way, and I also continue to find my way along this journey. I'm not really a good prayer. I'm learning how to pray, but it feels so good. All right, well, me and my fiance's mom, we're going to this club later. I'm not kidding. It's like this little party thing they're having. I helped her out with one of her shows. She does Scentsy. And if anybody needs any Scentsy products, I can hook you up. My fiance's mom sells it, and she's wonderful. Anyways, I was helping her out with the show, and there's like an after party tonight at this place called the Electric Playhouse, and I've never been before, so I'm really excited to go. And it looks like a club kinda, so I have like the most fun dancing with my fiance's mom. She was a dancer when she was younger, so she just kills it on the dance floor, and she just makes me want to dance. So that's mine and her thing. We're always like dancing together. I love that we have that relationship. Anyways, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna get ready for that. And all of the sweet comments that were left in my last video, I appreciate so much. I can't believe people even pay attention to me like that sometimes. But gosh, so grateful for you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you guys so much. Yeah, peace and love, guys. Peace and love. Have a great day. Bye.